Welcome to Radioactive Magazine. I'm Bob Grove, your host. Tonight, I'm speaking with A.Y. Young, United Nations 2020 youth leader. This has roots back to 1992 when 178 different countries adopted the United Nations Agenda 21, which was a plan to build a global partnership for sustainable development. Now, sustainable development that would improve human lives and protect the environment. This led to a number of landmark events, notably the adoption of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Now, at the heart of the 2030 Agenda are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and these goals promote actions by all countries to improve health and education, reduce inequality, spur economic growth, to tackle climate change, and to preserve our oceans and forests. Every 2 years, 17 young leaders from around the world are selected by the United Nations to engage young people with these sustainable development goals, both through events organized by the UN and through their existing initiatives, platforms, and networks. Last year, A.Y. Young was selected to be the only American among this cadre of United Nations leaders. Welcome, A.Y., and congratulations.
Yo, Bob, thank you, man. I'm blessed. I'm so blessed to be in this position to like really make change.
Yeah. What's it like being a United Nations young leader?
Yeah, people ask me all the time. They go, what's it like being the voice of the youth for America?"
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, I'm growing into this new role. It's crazy, right? And what I say is that it's funny. I don't feel like I'm here to lead the youth. I feel like I'm here to empower their voice and kind of be a platform for everyone to kind of plug in, right? So, I mean, that's what, if that makes sense. Like, what do you mean? You're a leader, but like, I feel like, hey, okay, now I'm in this position to empower other people and empower the voices of the youth. And it's pretty special. And I think I've created some change that people can plug into and really power, you know?
Yeah. So you're working with the UN group that's responsible for the Paris Climate Agreement, among other things.
Yeah.
This group's having some pretty far-reaching impacts. How does it feel to be part of that?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. I mean, to me, this is a new, obviously there's a new president in the office now that brought that back into the forefront of the conversation, and I think it's time that we really took some huge strides towards sustainability. So, I mean, it's I'm blessed to be around some of these other great people doing great things, and so now I'm really all about action, right? I mean, I'm an action guy, right? I powered like over 800 concerts by renewable energy. That's what got me here. I helped get about 17 countries access to energy. So my thing is, now that I'm in this space with the UN and I have this platform, it's like, how can I get people, humans, the world, which I kind of call or refer to as outlets for change. How do I get them out of these silos and plugged into like this battery that's going to power like real change, right? And so that's what I'm here to do, is get the world plugged in.
That's really cool. Now, you've been a performer for a long time. I believe you grew up in Kansas City, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Grew up in KC born and raised.
Yeah, KCMO. So you're a local boy for us, for our listeners here. You started writing poetry at the age of 14. It's about the truce divide. So I mean, you've lived with Kansas City for a long time. What was that like back then?
Yeah, man, that was interesting. Yeah, I lived through it, and we still have the same property in that area. But I watched my dad. What it was like for me was I'm blessed to learn and to experience so much through my parents. And I watched my dad, Alan Young. They built the Ivanhoe Neighborhood Association, which is like one of the model neighborhoods right in Kansas City. And I kind of watched him change the neighborhood block by block. Mobilize the community. I watched him shut down 4 crack houses on our block alone. He was booked, made, titled an activist, front page of the paper. I remember working with all the different mayors from Funkhauser, the police chiefs. I'm this little kid in these meetings doing these neighborhood cleanups. And I mean, yes, we live and are still experiencing the truth divide, but I grew up watching a change maker make change right in front of me, and saw the effects that it's had on the city. And so that's really what shaped me to be who I am now.
So you're still there. We're kind of the sound, you know,
Yes,
virtual
sir.
technology is wonderful these days.
Right? Did
It's
you hear
letting
me?
us
Did
do.
you hear me good?
Yeah, I got most of
Did,
that. You just kind of went quiet there toward the end.
oh no, I was
So
just saying
let's
what
get back to
watching.
the.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Let's get back to the youth leaders. So I mean, there's 17 of these selected every couple of years, and then you're focused on the sustainable development goals, these SDGs. So do each of you, and there's 17 of those, so 17 youth leaders, 17 goals. Do each of you have one specific goal you're assigned to, or do all of you work on different selections of goals? How's that work?
Yes, yeah. So I mean, I think that was the idea originally, from what I hear from the other envoys and people, and that the idea was, oh shoot, 17 goals. We're gonna find the best person in the world. For each one, best young person, plug it in. Then they realized that, oh shoot, like this is all connected, right? Like they're so connected that you can't really do that, and then things cross, right? People, like, even with myself, it's like I was getting people access to energy, goal 7, but I was also practicing goal 13, right? Climate action, because I was doing a concert powered by renewable energy. So how can you really pick, one for the, so I think they kind of brought on the scope to say, like, let's find just 17 great people who are making impact and can drive these forward, in a new way. And then they picked me, which I'm the first musician artist that they've ever picked in the program. So we made history this year with being the first artist admitted into the Young Leader program. And of course, I'm the only one representing the U.S. So here I am. I'm anxious to kind of premiere this Global Goals project that I'm doing, that I just launched. I'm in phase 1, and this is kind of the change that I've brought for the world to plug into, and for us to power people's passions and also make change and take action. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, it sounds very cool. Let's back up a little bit and talk about Battery Tour, because that's kind of what led into this whole UN role. Can you tell us what gave you the inspiration to start Battery Tour, and what makes Battery Tour unique?
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, what started Battery Tour was just, you can almost say, being told no. I got my start on the X Factor TV show in 2012. And so my mentors were like, Britney Spears, and L.A. Reid, and Simon Cowell. And I mean, it's crazy even looking at Britney Spears right now and seeing what some of the things she went through. I didn't know she was going through that when I was with her, back in 2012. But I got off the show. I got 4 yeses. Got off the show. It was successful. It was great. I wanted to get my music to the world. I wanted people to hear it. And so, I would try to open up for Wiz Khalifa, who would come to town at Sprint Center, or people know Sprint Center all the time, right? Bruno Mars would come. These big artists, they come and they perform. Justin Timberlake, and wanted to open up for him, and I would try to. I would, message, and I would get hit with all kinds of stuff, like, how many tickets has your last tour sold out? I would get asked that, or I would get asked, like, well, how many followers do you have? And I didn't have a lot of followers, and I obviously didn't have a tour to sell out tickets. So I was like, done, right? I mean, that's it. But generally, you give up, right? I mean, what do? There's nothing else to do. But I obsessed over energy, and I found out that, like, energy is the base resource, right? Like, we all need energy in our food, right? We eat food, water, right? And I figured out you could store enough energy in batteries. You can almost power anything. And so I started. I picked a white girl that could sing, African dude that could dance, all these different, what I thought was America the world, right? To showcase diversity, and started doing these 8 to 10 hour shows, because, if you work at Taco Bell, you got to work a minimum of freaking 4 hours, right? You can't just do a 30-minute shift and be like, hey guys, I'm good. My performance is over. See you later. Taco, you got to work 4 hours. So I did 8-hour shows, and that was the start of the Battery Tour.
8 hours, that's a long time to perform.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I would not advise that to anyone. I say that nowadays. I'm like, yo, I would not put that on anyone to do for as long as I did. I mean, I did 230 last year, but it's what I did, and things evolve. Like people would donate, right? They would donate and say, "Oh man, we're your outlets. We power the tour," and that's kind of how outlets came. Because right before that, I was performing one time and looked back and saw a bunch of batteries, and I was like, "I'm AY. This is the battery tour," because I saw the batteries, and so people would say, "Oh, we're your outlets. We power the tour," and that was like a eureka moment for me because the show was evolving at the time early on quickly, and it was becoming a place where if you were an artist, you had a platform to perform, at least a song, right? So it was the open mic. If you were a family, I'm playing Cupid Shuffle, Cha-Cha Slide. Kids are having a good time dancing. If you enjoy country music, I'm covering Garth Brooks. I'm doing Keith Urban. I'm covering Michael Jackson. I'm doing Elvis. I'm doing Prince. I'm also doing Sweet Child of Mine and those records. And then I'm doing original songs. So we were spanning like the world, like in genre, right? So it was reflecting that at the show, right? All ages, all demographics. And so, that big eureka moment when I realized, oh shoot, everyone is an outlet for change, right? And plugged into each other on the local community, on the national side, as a world, like we can do anything. And so that's when I started taking that tip money, that cash money in the bucket, and I would go from city to city and state to state to go get the world plugged in.
So you're running your entire concert on batteries or solar
Yeah.
power or bike power, or what kind of technology? I mean, you use a lot of different things. What kind of tools are you using to generate that power?
I mean, over the years, the tools have like expanded, right? In the beginning, it was really strictly just batteries, and I was finding ways to store energy in them, right? And then the pedal generators is what I call them. And we started also using the battery tour as a way to promote, to develop, kind of deploy sustainable solutions to people in general. When I went down the path of discovering, because I opened for Wiz Khalifa, I toured with Shaggy, and I discovered 1 billion people like access energy. So then I started using the battery tour as a way to raise money and get people access to energy. And so we ended up working with different technologies. I built some technology myself. And so it evolved, right? It could be any of those things.
So you put together the technology, whatever, store it or generate it live during the performance, which can be kind of exciting. If you've got those people on stage riding those bikes and stuff, I mean, that becomes part of the performance. And then you do your concert.
Awesome it is, right?
Yeah. Then what happens to the technology afterwards? I understand you've been going into like some third world countries and stuff, doing the concerts, and then leaving the technology there for the villages to power themselves. How does that work?
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, nothing works without partnership, in my opinion. And so you're blessed to have great partnerships with wonderful, incredible nonprofits that helped me, have that ear to the ground, know what village might need access over a different one. Not saying no one's important over another one, just saying you got to pick and choose the best places, right? Especially in developing nations. So yeah, formulate those partnerships, which happens to be goal 17. So I was already hitting that. And then bringing people music. I know people were experiencing concerts in villages in Honduras and these third world, but they've never experienced music ever. Like Justin Timberlake doesn't tour that area, right? Because there's no electricity, there's no
place to plug in. Yeah.
Right? There's no place to plug in. So we're bringing people power, we're bringing people music, which is love. We're bringing people together. And I mean, it was huge. And that was without the battery tour being powered by Tesla. I don't have Energizer behind me. I haven't been on Ellen yet or Oprah talking about what we're doing, right? That was powered by the people, by outlets who are listening right now, who said, wow, I can do two things. I can power the tour, whether it's sharing it on Facebook or donating $1 or buying a shirt, and I can take an action. And my action is going to be X, right? And that's what we ask all our outlets to do. Anyone who's listening, our outlets for change is to take an action and power the tour, right? And that's what took me around the world and helped us help people and change the world. And now I'm a young leader. So let's scale the impact.
That's really that is the impact. So how many concerts, how many countries have you given concerts in now, Battery Tour? You got no sound right now. See if you're muted.
Yo, Bob, No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Say that.
Sorry. How many places have we got access to energy to so far? It's roughly somewhere over
Yeah.
15 countries, and it's roughly our estimate is like 50,000 cell phones that we charge so far. Which in a lot of these developing nations, that is the equivalent of food because they pay for their food with their phone. So that's kind of like the rough.
Yeah, your
Yo, yeah,
sound's
yeah.
dropped again. Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
these nations, I mean, their cell phones, that's probably the only technology they have. I mean, their money
Exactly.
systems, purchasing everything, that's done through their cell phone. So you being able to go in and give a concert, and then the technology for your concert's left behind, so they'll be able to charge your cell phones going forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, because if anyone's listening or if anyone understands, like, so there's a huge problem in the world, right? Where over 1 billion people, right, don't have access to energy. Now, a lot of these places, they may have access nearby, and by nearby, I mean 5 to 10. I mean 5 to 10 miles, right? Like maybe for clean water, they have to walk 5 miles for clean water or electricity. So if you can imagine, if they in order for them to buy their food, they have to have their phone charged. You can imagine the debacle a day is when you got to walk 10 miles to charge a phone to then order your food or pay for your food at a marketplace, right? Or even worse, they're carrying buckets of water on their head, and if they spill it at mile 4, they probably got to walk 4 miles back to fill it back up to then go mile 6. It's insane, right? So that's a problem that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I don't even know how to relate to that when you describe that. We're so dependent on energy here, and we just don't get it. I mean, we don't understand how easy that is for us and what it's like for the rest of the world not to have access to energy the way we do.
Yeah, it's insane. It's crazy because here's my I don't know if this is a video, but if anyone's listening, my logo is an outlet because everyone's an outlet, right? The battery tour logo, and
Yeah.
kids, families, schools, they'll send us pictures of an outlet, like in their home, in their gym, in their classroom. Like, hey, we're plugged in. We're an outlet for change. I've done my action, right? I recycled yesterday, and I powered the tour. I shared this on Twitter, or whatever, right? I have whatever they decide to do. But I say that to say, like, that's when I realized that for most of the world, the battery tour is a strong brand because it's already in every home in America and around the world. But then I also realized that this symbol means something so much different in Haiti, for the villages that we hit, because they're not used to seeing an outlet,
Yeah, an
right?
electric
It's
outlet. Yeah,
insane.
that's crazy.
For them, that's like the holy grail. For some people, it's like, oh, I just stumbled upon gold kind of thing. Like
Mm.
it's a different world out there. So yeah, we're all blessed to be where we are in America right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, we certainly are. And it's really great to see that we're able to take music and power to these third world nations and help with these sustainable goals. So your job as a young leader is to get young people involved with the SDGs, the sustainable goals, right?
Yes,
What
sir.
what kind of response are you getting? I mean, within the young communities, how do they feel about these sustainable goals?
Yeah, well, the response I'm getting about the goals is people don't know what the heck they are. I mean, let's just as simple as that. As the average young person has no, they will tell you who Migos is. They know the words of like the new, like Logic song or like, you know, uh, this Jay-Z album or Kanye thing or Kim Kardashian's show on the thing. They know this, but they have no idea about the goals. That's but what my project is with the Global Goals Project of the Battery Tour, and what I've discovered is music is a universal language, right? And that people care about their favorite TikToker. People check in with Twitch and they play their video games on there. And there's a whole community of young people that are on these social platforms, and there's things that they care about. So I've kind of figured that I can include what they care about and what their passions are to help push them in the direction to empower them to not only recognize what the SDGs are, but figure out how they can, again, take an action, right? and how they can even help me power this change, power their passion. And so that's what I'm trying to do in general. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, again, calls coming like crazy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're there. I know this technology is great, but obviously it's a
Yeah, well,
challenge. And this is part of the pandemic thing, isn't it?
that's the
You know,
one
we're
that's
all
the
learning
one
to
thing that, yeah.
we're all learning to
That's
live online. So your
but yeah,
concerts, I mean, let's touch on the pandemic a little bit. Are you doing a lot of your work virtual now?
yeah, totally. I mean, I got some things coming up as far as concerts, but what I'm really preparing for and what I'm really in is I'm in three-phase rollout. You know, I keep talking about how I think the whole world is you know, we're working in silos. I'm trying to plug people into this battery to power change, like through using music, right? And so the change that I've kind of created is a three-phase project. I'm doing an album, one song for each goal. So 17 records in collab.
17
Yep,
songs on the album.
yep, in collaboration with the biggest artists in the world. And
That's
then
cool.
I'm doing a tour next year, 17 dates. But we're gonna, yeah, it's important. And me as the young leader of the U.S. to get the whole United States plugged into this tour. So we're gonna do it in the U.S. first, and then we're gonna release a guidebook and a roadmap uh, through the United Nations to be like, hey, artists of America and the world, this is how you tour sustainably. This is how you know, do a sustainable album. These are the people involved, the change makers, the charities that do the work on each goal, right? This is what we've learned. And it's all going to be wrapped into this 2-season docu-series for Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime. And so that's what I've been working on. Gosh, all these calls. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're
Wow.
good.
So
Keep on rolling
it's
here.
crazy. That's what I've been working on, and we're actually launching on Amazon Prime on the 22nd of April. Before even we launch this docu series of me doing this, and I'm in phase one now. So I'm super happy to announce here on KKFI, we just finished goal 17 with the head and the heart. You know, they're one of the biggest fans in America. And I mean, I hope to add Miley Cyrus and Lumineers on that same record as well. But so that's kind of what we're doing, times 16, right? So every goal pairing with the biggest artists in the world, great charities that do the work, right? That will
Yeah.
receive the benefit of the impact from the music to empower them to then do what they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
And
ready to really include the world to make an impact on these goals, you know.
yeah, it sounds like a great plan, you know, these different steps, you know, just spreading the word. And I think it's great the way you're taking music and using that as an avenue to connect young people to these goals, sustainable goals that, as you say, they're probably not aware about until they hear you
Yeah,
talk
they're
about
not,
them or
right?
sing about them. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and
Yep.
that's what I was that's my thought. It's like you might not know what the goal 6 is, which is about clean water, but Jaden Smith is some son, and then Pharrell is one of the best producers on the planet and cares about water. So you know my goal is for them to collaborate with me on the water record, right? And boom, you know, now you've got relevance, right? Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Great project. I understand you're going to be the opening speaker at Kansas City's Earth Festival
Let's
this April.
go. Yes,
That's
sir. Thanks for the invite. I'm ready.
that that
Huh?
sounds
Huh?
exciting. Are you going to give us a speech? You're going to write a poem for us?
I got you. I don't know, whatever we need. Well, let's see how much time we got. We could do something really cool, you know.
I think you could do something cool. You know, it's really exciting what you're doing, and I mean, it's really great that you know we have a United Nations representative right here in Kansas City.
In
Are
Kansas
you
City.
in Kansas City? What could be better than that? Are you? I mean, with all these plans you got, are you focusing mostly on American, United States youth, or are you reaching an international audience?
Yeah, definitely an international audience. I mean, I'm about to ink a deal with World Scouting, which is like the mother company of the Scouts, which is all Scouts worldwide, right? So I mean, that's all youth, right? Worldwide, like, you know, yeah. I mean, I'm starting. My idea is like starting at the heart of the nation, which is Kansas City, right?
Right.
And then expanding out, and so that's kind of what we're doing right now, getting America plugged in, getting the world plugged in, right?
Yeah, that's really great. Sounds like you're getting everybody plugged in, and I think it's amazing what's happening. So I want to thank you for joining us today, and I want to thank all of our KKFI listeners. You can learn more about AY's upcoming Earth Festival appearance at the Climate Council of Greater Kansas City. That's www.climategkc.org. AY, where can they learn more about you and the United Nations Youth Leaders?
Yes, yeah, totally. I mean, I would just say get plugged into the Battery Tours. You could just go to batterytour.com, be out about what we're doing as young leaders, what I'm doing with this project here with the Global Goals Project. Find the Battery Tour, get plugged in, listen to my music, right? I'm AY Young, and I have a song called Save the Planet. It's all about saving the planet. So get plugged in, and yeah, man, I'm ready to change the world with you.
That's really great. Thank you, AY. This has been Radioactive Magazine. I'm your host, Bob Grove.